Artificial intelligence is set to take the entertainment industry by storm, transforming it in ways that folks could not possibly perceive just a few years ago. Now, Sora is here, and people are beginning to imagine what it could do, but other folks are beginning to wonder, is their job at risk? We'll explain how entertainment is about to be completely and utterly transformed right now. Hello, folks. Welcome back to the Pro Channel. It is a joy, as always, to have all of you out there with us today, and we are so exceedingly happy to have Robert Meyer Burnett, the one and only, here to help us go through what the future might look like. Mr. RMB, welcome back to the channel, sir.
Pro, you know, it's a great pleasure to be asked by you to come back to this channel because I do feel that we have some of the greatest conversations I've had on this platform. So it's nice to be here, and I'm honored to be asked back.
Well, that is a major statement that we take, and I'm honored that you would say something such as that. Let's get right into another one of those robust discussions and see where we land. I'd like to show you now what we're looking at here, and we're going to be very careful that we do not play any audio with this. But what we're looking at is, and by the way, we'll give credit where it's due, Choi is the author of this post. But this is the artificially intelligence-created woman from the Sora video, and someone has run that image of her. Again, she's not real at all, but they've run her through another artificial intelligence program that has her singing and moving in all new ways. And if we scroll down through here, we'll find that there are other videos where we've got this with the Mona Lisa. We have this with DiCaprio, and we have it with another AI woman. Again, she's not real at all. She's been created completely through artificial intelligence in a different program and then run through this. None of this is necessarily new, but combined with what we've seen with Sora, which is text to video, now I'm beginning to get an inkling of where this could go. And Mr. Burnett, you tell me what you think about this. I envision a future where there are multiple layers of artificial intelligence creating a single scene in a movie, and there are multiple experts. Maybe they're experts in lighting, maybe they're experts in hair and makeup, or set design, or what have you. But rather than building these things or doing the actual hair and makeup, and some may think this is dystopian, but I suggest that I envision them sitting down with a super prompter or with other technicians who understand artificial intelligence and guiding the process of developing this into a better and better scene for the final product. Is that where you think this is going?
100%. I mean, and I would go even further and say that there's going to be artificial intelligences that specialize in doing certain things that you will be able to, like you were talking about, layers of AI. It'll be one person using various AIs the way we use different apps now. And so you'll have an AI, for instance, that all it will do is generate light from a natural environment that you'll apply. You'll be like, you'll say, okay, it's 3:55 in the Pacific time zone. I'm on the beach, say Zuma Beach here in Southern California, and it's a slightly overcast day on a specific date, say March 12th. And you'll have an AI that'll be able to generate the position of the sun, that'll figure out the atmospherics, that'll figure out how light will reflect, and it will also then, maybe you use another AI for terrain, and they'll be working together, and you'll be able to have the light reflecting off down to the millimeter, probably using Google Earth or something, an AI version of it, where you can pinpoint wherever you are on the planet. And one AI is dealing with atmospherics, one AI is dealing with geography, one AI is dealing with camera, one AI is generating your figure, and you'll have 5 different AIs working in tandem because each AI will have its speciality, and you'll be able to do whatever you want. And then if you want to put a specific camera move, zooms, close-ups, you want to change your lenses, focal lengths, it'll be just like we use Photoshop today. But what you'll be able to do is you'll be able to create absolutely photorealistic images, and you'll be able to manipulate everything there is to manipulate instantaneously. Probably faster.
I want to differentiate for the audience what it is we're talking about that's so different than how things have been done in the past. other than just the AI aspect of this. And so to explain what is so different, people need to understand that up until this point, for the most part, the way that CGI, computer graphics inside of movies and animation has worked is that you have a 3D modeler, you have 3D animators, you have special effect artists, and they create models, right, using polygonal geometry. And sometimes it's more complicated than that, but we'll stick with the polygons for now. And then that is overlaid with special effects and lighting passes and texture and bit mapping and all of this. And that creates what we see on the screen. But what artificial intelligence is doing is something more dreamlike. And I mean that from a technical standpoint. It's not generating models necessarily, it is replicating patterns that it observes in the vast number of videos that it has consumed, the vast number of images that it has consumed, and then it is creating, based on feedback from humans and from AI, these regurgitations of patterns. It's graded, I suppose, based on whether or not it's rewarded with success. And that then generates these images instead of a strict model that humans have touched. What you're talking about, and I totally agree with you where this is going, is we're discussing iterative, there we go, iterative AI processes whereby you'll do one pass, yes, and then you'll say, well, I don't like that, let's change that. And we can do the same exact pattern replication, but in a slightly different way, or maybe significantly different way. And then we can also keep that constant. So we can keep the same character that was developed in one video, and we can use that in another shot and approximate that well enough that humans will believe it and buy into it and see the consistency. So let me then ask you a very serious question with near-term implications. So we are in a situation right now where there could be another Hollywood strike on the horizon. This out of IATSE, which is essentially the guild for everybody who's not in a guild, right? This is not the directors guild. This is not the writers guild. And this is not any of the actors. This is everybody else. This is the cameramen. This is the grips. This is the handles. This is the people who do the scheduling. So do you think, Mr. Burnett, that we're headed for a major friction point as these people attempt to save their jobs and their existence in Hollywood? Do you think that AI, as it's currently constituted, is an existential threat to these people in their professions?
100%. I mean, it's not even an existential threat. We are at a watershed moment, and by the way, for the record, we're not ready for this, but we're at a watershed moment where human endeavor, creative endeavor, is, in the words of a Star Trek episode called "The Ultimate Computer." Give my regards to Captain Dunzel. That was a terminology that was going in that episode where somebody who's completely irrelevant is known as Captain Dunzel. All the creative endeavors of humanity, whether it's learning how to play an instrument, learning how to paint, and all of these other things, all of the arts are going to be rendered basically irrelevant. And I think, and whether this is a good or a bad thing, I'll allow other people or philosophers to say, because I do think it's a philosophical question. And you have to come down to, it's an existential question about what gives meaning to the human animal's life. And I think the impetus to create art is innate in some people.
Let me bounce off that then. And I hate to interrupt you, but I'm really interested in your take here. Do you think that this will eradicate the need for human influenced art, or do you think that this will exponentially increase the ability of artists who will then use this as a tool to generate things greater than we could ever imagine before?
Well, here's the thing. I see that artists used to be a class of people. What this is going to do is democratize creation to everyone. And it's going to be because here's the thing. If you want to say be a painter, you could spend your entire life studying technique, learning how to be a painter. AI is going to come do it for you in instantaneously. And it's only a matter of time before we have 3D printers connected to AI brains, and the 3D printers or whatever it's going to be, someone could connect a paintbrush to a computer, and they'll be able to recreate the brush strokes of Rembrandt. They'll have that information. They'll even be able to calculate what is the pressure that is applied to a brush and a certain size brush to create a certain brush stroke. Now, you're going to need a human being to make sure the paint's there.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't know how satisfying that's going to be, but from one perspective. However, a novelist, let's say you're a novelist coming up with your story. Now, AI will be able to create stories as well. So, but if you're a novelist, let's say you're a novelist and you have a certain kind of a brain, like Stephen King's brain is not going to go anywhere. Donna Tartt's brain isn't going to go anywhere. If you wanted to write, say, or she wanted to write The Secret History, because it'll still be her idea. It won't be AI generated. It'll be her idea or Stephen King's idea to sit down and say, write The Shining. He can sit there and go, wow, I'm going to use AI and I'm going to generate the Overlook Hotel. And if it's not based on a real place, he can conjure it up out of his mind. And not only can he generate the Overlook Hotel, he can spend time and have, using AI, he can create not only the Overlook, but every room in the Overlook, every piece of art in the Overlook, everything he wants that's in his, call it his set, his imaginary set, whatever. Then he can AI generate photorealistic characters right out of his imagination. And then he can put in prompts or do whatever, or even write his own prose. And the AI will take his prose and use his particular brand of prose and be able to somehow translate that into 3D space. He'll be able to, he can spend 100 page, or not 100 pages, he'll spend 100, actually call it 1,000 words, 10,000 words, whatever he wants to write, and give AI everything you need to know about this character, including what toys they played with when they were kids, and everything you need to know about their mother. And the AI will extrapolate back using all this information and go, okay, if the parents had this ethnicity, what would their child look like? I mean, it's so, if you start to wrap your head around it, so an author could use these tools and create a movie, a 3-dimensional, fully realized film with an original soundtrack, all themselves.
What you're also describing could be something like a uniquely crafted for the individual RPG experience, some sort of combination of movie and role-playing game where you experience the movie in virtual reality. That's custom made for the user.
People are just going to say, you'll have an AI version. Like, what? It's so insane. Take your favorite movie. There'll probably be AI repositories. Like, say you love Star Wars. You'll have the original Star Wars, and probably not even the special edition, the original version uploaded to AI. AI will be able to tell you which lens was used in each shot. Was the focal length with the 50 millimeters, 35 millimeters, 85 millimeters, whatever the lens size is? AI will just look at an image and know exactly what the lens size already was.
Well, we already have AI that will tell you what song you're listening to, even if it's from the 60s, the 50s, the 40s. It'll identify it in 5 seconds. You're
100%.
describing the same thing for camera
angles.
Films, and that's you're exactly right. I've never thought of that.
And then what you're going to do is, then you're going to upload as many pictures of yourself as you can, or videos, or Instagram feeds, or reels, whatever you've got. And you can say, I want to be Luke Skywalker. And then AI will take Star Wars, everything about Star Wars, it'll look exactly the same, but you'll look like Luke Skywalker. It'll make you Luke Skywalker, and you'll kick it out. And then you can watch Star Wars. It'll be exactly the same as it was, Harrison Ford's voice, but it'll be your voice. Assuming you record, it'll ask you to record some phonics or whatever. And you'll be able to self-insert you into whatever movie you want from whatever era. Like, I'm really looking forward to inserting myself as Frater from Metropolis. I want to make the Rob Burnett version of Metropolis. I'm looking forward to
the beginning of what you can do.
And this is just, but so all of this, whatever you can think of, is going to be possible. And by the way, possible within the next decade.
Yes, and that's
probably not much sooner.
That's why I'm bringing up this article that you had sent my way, because I am interested in the what we're looking at in the horizon of 10 years. But it seems to me that we're already in a place and a point in time when, as you correctly pointed out, society simply isn't ready for how disrupted this is about to be. Here's the article out of Engadget by Steve Dent. Amazon accused of using artificial intelligence to replicate the voices of actors in Roadhouse remake. And this really speaks to just how many different areas of entertainment, how many different domains artificial intelligence is quickly able to replicate at such a level that, well, it's causing folks to freak out. It says it did so during the actors' strike to finish the project before its copyright expired, the lawsuit alleges. So it did this last year. This is not new news. It's new news to those of us who didn't know that this was being done. The article said Amazon. Go ahead.
Oh, I don't necessarily believe this article is true, which we can get into. However, we're going to be dealing with this more and more. Whether it's true or not, it could have been done. That's why I sent it to you, because we're already there. I mean, already, when movies are made, for instance, like most of Lord of the Rings, for instance, was ADR, which means ADR stands for automatic dialogue replacement. And what happens is when movies are shot, sometimes there's fans blowing or whatever, and you'll record dialogue, but it is unusable because there's other sounds going on. So what they do is then they redub it in post-production. Once they've cut it together, they bring the actors in and they revoice the scenes. They look at the scenes, you get a 3-pop of beep, 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 and then you repeat the line and you get it clean.
Right. Castaway is one of the most iconic movies for that, because the entire movie had to be redone that way because of all the natural sounds Tom Hanks was encountering on the beach. Yeah.
You're on the beach. You can't, it's very difficult. Although shout out to James Coburn's son, James Coburn, a sound guy I work with. He was very good. You could go to the beach and he'd still record usable dialogue. But yeah, that's exactly right. And I mean, Italian movies, people have always asked me, like, I love Italian horror. And you can get the English version, the Italian version, and the mouths never quite sync up. They didn't even record sound when they were making those movies. They always put the sound in later. And so we're already there. And not only that, now, you know, you probably don't even have to have, even right now, you don't even have to move your mouth. You can go in and record dialogue later, and they can already, I don't know if you've seen this, but you can see, there's a video I saw the other day of Hitler giving a speech in German, one of his big beer putsch speeches or whatever, and it's translated into English, and the mouth movement matches the English.
Right.
It's insane, which from a historical perspective is really interesting, but that's another thing. You will never be able to believe. I heard an interesting term, data poisoning, last week. We're there. Our entire history, you know, George Orwell and Aldous Huxley and those authors, George Orwell, they all warned about if despots or people want to take over society, the easiest way to do that is to destroy history or pervert it or change it to make it suit your needs. And we're seeing that now played out in real time all over the place. Now imagine when AI is able to do that on the fly during, say, an election cycle, which we're going into. You know, with our knee-jerk responses on the internet and people wanting to jump on, I mean, we're really at an inflection point, I think, with this technology, where the real question, and it's going to be a difficult one, is who do we want to be as human beings? And we can't even stop from being mean to each other on the internet. And we're running headlong into a conundrum that is an existential conundrum about what is the value of human life and human endeavor. And I think we're all gonna be asking ourselves, I'm gonna be around to see this, and I'm looking forward to seeing where it's gonna go. Are we gonna have, like in the Dune universe, a Butlerian jihad when we finally say that it will be illegal or punishable by death to create a machine that thinks like a human being or recreates the human mind? Are we going to be there, or are we going to figure out a way to coexist with this? Because I do think there are going to be things like, for instance, if you want to go to see a live jazz trio, I mean, I trust the French first and foremost to preserve true art. And one of those things that they're going to do is they're always going to have smoky restaurants at 2 o'clock in the morning where you can go in and watch virtuoso jazz players play music, because
Do you think
that's
there's going to
something
be a premium on live performances from real people then?
100%.
Maybe live paintings then to watch a
Uh,
real person who can still do it.
I think that real art, because that's where value is given. I mean, the whole reason art exists and the whole reason that art is valuable is because it came from one human being. It was
Mm.
their unique point of view. And I think that things, and I do think that, because there's going to be the actual amount of computations that would be required to figure out human intuition and human creativity, I don't think is there yet, because the one thing AI won't be able to do, and again, though, this is coming, is AI, before it truly supplants humanity, Ray Kurzweil's singularity has to come, and AI has to become self-aware. And I think when that happens, AI is not going to want to recreate what human beings do. If you look at the movie Her, when you had everybody falls in love with operating systems and Scarlett Johansson falls in love with Joaquin Phoenix and he falls in love with her, that in that movie, the AIs decide, our existence. Can you imagine when an AI that only exists digitally becomes self-aware? What does that AI see? What is an AI's I mean, wouldn't it be fascinating to talk to an artificial intelligence that only exists digitally, but has access to all the world's computers that can exist at any time, anywhere? What does that entity have to say about existence? It's going to be fascinating, but I don't think they're going to want to paint pictures for human beings anymore. Not
Well,
once they're self-aware.
those are immensely deep topics you've brought up, and so yeah, isn't that understatement of the year? So you and I have talked in the past when we dove deep into consciousness. We've talked about the issues of qualia and
Mm.
what it is that a computer or an algorithm or a set of many algorithms experiences, and the fact that we don't really know what consciousness is in terms of the human conscious experience. But I can tell you that you're exactly right. There is an experiential, uh, phenomenological thing happening when you see the color green that we don't even know how to replicate that. And we don't know the functionality of it. So it's impossible that we would then implant that into the digital space, into something on a memory card or a processor. So I don't know that the experience of AI is anything remotely the same as our experience, in the same way that I don't think that our experience is anything remotely the same as an ant's experience or a moth's experience or a
And
tree's
we'll never.
experience.
I mean, it's really interesting. I mean, I keep thinking that it's funny. Rick Berman, who produced Star Trek: The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine and Voyager and Enterprise, told me once when I was interviewing him for our documentaries 10 years ago. He said that the two things that created the internet or turned the internet into the force they are today, one was pornography, and the other was Star Trek. Because people wanted to go on the internet and bitch about Star Trek, so there were message boards. And what was very funny about that was my college roommate in 1988 had set up a BBS service. It was the first time I ever saw a bulletin board, computer bulletin board. And he's like, yeah, man, I'm going to set up this Star Trek bulletin board, and people can randomly call in. Up to 20 people can randomly call in, and you can have text conversations about like warp drive, whatever you want to talk about. And this was in our apartment when I was going to USC, and I'm like, really? And he's like, yeah, I'm going to put out the web address or whatever the address was, the 10,000 digit address on servers, like on the Whole Earth Electronic Link under Star Trek, and people will call in. And I remember sitting there for the first day looking at a screen that had green text glowing on it.
Mm-hmm.
And suddenly there were people there. And I would sit there and talk and text. What's your favorite Star Trek episode? And here we are. That was in 88. Here we are in 2024, and I'm basically doing the same thing.
Yeah. Different scale, different scope, but yes.
But
Man.
you can watch pornography on the screen, but it will never be able to replicate the experience of actually making love to your partner of choice.
Right, and it may not be even designed to do that.
No. And I don't even know how to convey, like when you really think about human perception and what turns us on, everybody's different. How do you take all of the factors, the behavioral factors that were instilled in you or innately you were born with, that developed into whatever your sense of aesthetics were, whatever your because sexuality is one thing, human reproduction is another thing, and when you're dealing with what you find sexy, those are factors, those are variables. I don't even know how to turn that into a computer, or how to put that in. I mean, part of it might have been when you were a child, you were at the beach with your mother and you saw the sun hit your mom's face at one particular time. And at that particular moment, a gust of wind blew and moved her hair as you were looking at her bouncing on her lap. And you heard the sound of the sea at the same time. You weren't even aware of this input. All you might remember is that this one image of your mom gave you something that said this is home, or this is nurturing, or this is safe. And yet whatever that was that happened in your mind, maybe when you were a year old or 2 years old, stayed in your consciousness and was extrapolated as you got older. And that's why you love the beach, or that's why you love some sunsets, or that's why you love women's hair blowing in the wind. You don't know. But how do you put that into artificial intelligence? And I don't think maybe we ever will, because the thoughts that we have in our own heads is what makes us uniquely us. So I don't know, and we'll have to wait and see, will artificial intelligence, with all of this technology, will it be able to convincingly recreate the image of a human being standing on the beach at magic hour with the sun going down, walking toward a camera when you can see the light in their eyes to know that they're alive? Whatever all those variables are, I mean, we'll get close, but because will the uncanny valley ever be able to go away, ever truly? And everything might look great, but it might be an inflection in the voice that's not quite right. Or maybe somebody who knows? Well, I'd like to believe that there's got to be something unique inside of us that the computer won't be able to recreate. Some kind of variable that we might not even be aware of yet, that we'll only discover it in the age of AI.
This is the issue of philosophical zombies. So the idea of, what is this thing that we are beyond just being material? And so, the idea of, let's put it into the arena of food for a moment. How are we going to train artificial intelligence to do anything other than mimic us very well when it comes to, for example, enjoying a wonderful salad or a delicious hamburger or ice cream or what have you, if the artificial intelligence has never had that experience? There's no phenomenological connection to what we have experienced so many times. And so all the AI can do is then replicate that. But that's not, there's a missing authenticity to that. And so that's why my greatest hope is that there's going to be a combination of whatever it is that makes humanity, and perhaps more broadly the biological experience, if that is working in concert with AI, then I think that we've got a shot at this thing. If we become subservient to whatever AI becomes, then I think that's a terrifying possibility, because without the spark of consciousness, I'm not sure that the universe is worth what it is. And so if we just dilute this back down into zeros and ones and atoms, then I don't know where the meaning is. And I'll bring this back to what you said, that I think points to you maybe believing the same thing. You correct me if I'm wrong, but you said about going and watching someone in a smoky jazz cafe in Paris. You alleged that is more significant because it has the human touch to it. So I think that you're applying a metaphysical property, a metaphysical value to that that's beyond what artificial intelligence can do. And I agree with you. And I don't think it's because I'm some sort of human supremacist who thinks that humans are better than artificial intelligence. It's that I think you and I both are recognizing the human experience is categorically different than whatever it is that we're creating, that doesn't mean that one is better or worse than the other, but what we're creating may not be conscious in the way that we are at all. But to bring that back into entertainment, as long as you are the creator and this is the tool by which you create, then the amount of stuff that can be created at a level that we have never seen before. I mean, we're going to make movies of today, which some of them are very unimpressive. And by the way, the conversation you and I have been having, I think, demonstrates just how lackluster Lucasfilm might be by the fact that we're talking about things that AI can do, and we're showing it on Twitter/X. And Indiana Jones looks so bad in that movie. I really question everything about what Hollywood's doing right now. And that may, by the way, that may cause some of our audience to not believe anything we're saying. But we promise this is real. But Robert, I guess what I would say is that we have the possibility in the very near future that a 15-year-old kid in the garage can make something that looks phenomenally better than anything Hollywood could imagine producing right now, and we'll put it in the same sort of category as when we go back and we look at a film from the 1930s and go, well, isn't that quaint? I think some of our stuff very soon is going to look quaint.
Yeah. However, I would say this, with all that, when digital technology was real and say people were making science fiction films, the very act of watching a movie, we understand that there was a camera making it. So when you see things like Dune 2 is opening in the theater, right? The week we record this interview. One of the things about that film, I'm always looking for verisimilitude. It's the word that Richard Donner used on the set of the original Superman. And the word verisimilitude means the quality of being real. And when you watch a movie, which, by the way, is all made up, everything is fictional, nothing is there. You're looking at sets. None of the buildings you're in are real. People really can't fly. You're not on Arrakis. However, we know what it's like to live in the real world. And when a filmmaker can create, like, for instance, the quantum realm and Quantum Mania look like a bunch of BS to me. I'm like, bad. I don't believe this. Look, Voyage Through Inner Space, which is no longer at Disneyland, but I loved Voyage Through Inner Space when I was a kid. Paul Frees narrating it. You were shrinking. I believed it when I was 8. I'm like, this is the best thing ever. It was more realistic. That ride was more realistic than the Quantum Mania Quantum Realm. Dune 2, however, because of the way that the effects technology was employed, you don't have things zipping around and cameras moving so fast that that when you have a camera, because we know what movies are a certain medium. And when you push the medium too far, when you have the virtual camera moves we don't believe it anymore, because we've been trained to understand that there was a camera there. And what Dune 2 does, and what all great filmmakers can do, when they're making effects that are supposed to look photoreal, they still incorporate the idea that there had to be a camera there to get it, even though there wasn't, because it was virtual. It's still, because we human beings basically see the world in 50 millimeter lens. We see in like a 50 millimeter lens. We are locked
in a very tiny area, and our eyes move in rapid synchronization in order to generate the 3D image that we see. But
yes,
high resolution is tiny.
We can only see the world, unfortunately, in one way. So when we're watching a movie, if you try to move outside of our and different lenses, whether the bokeh or whether the deep depth of field or whatever, we can change those things, but we're still locked into the way. When you try and make movies that are different from the way that we perceive the world, the human animal sort of shuns that, or you get like the uncanny valley, where you don't know what's wrong, but something's wrong, something's off. Like when you go back and you watch the Final Fantasy movie from 20 years ago, and you look at all the photorealistic human characters, they don't look real at all. It's all so. Again, we can't even see. My dogs can see more than I can, or differently than I can. They can hear different things than I can.
Definitely smell better than you, which is a warning to all pet owners out there.
100%. And all of those things are going to come into play. And I really do believe that, in a way, maybe what the AI revolution is going to do is make human beings, we've so taken our lives for granted. I would like to believe that it is the authentic moments that human beings have with one another that are going to be the most precious things. Maybe it's something we once had and lost, but I would like to believe that a conversation that you have with your friend sharing a beer, where you're imbibing a liquid that tastes good, and you're hearing the chatter of other human beings' voices, and you're hearing music that maybe a jazz trio is playing. I think that those experiences are going to be more valued, because once anybody can insert themselves into whatever movie they want, I mean, how many girls are going to give themselves Ryan Gosling by making The Notebook about them? I don't know, probably a lot, but it's not going to replace what it is when two people sit face to face, eye to eye, and have a conversation. So I choose to believe that our world, I mean, right now we just look at each other through screens. We can barely talk to each other. We're so used to yelling and screaming or being mean to one another online. I'd like to believe that maybe a byproduct of this is that this new AI world will, in a way, make us more human than we've ever been before.
Well, I think that would be a very lovely outcome. I'm hopeful, and I would recommend to folks out there grasping at this topic to consider for a moment if you think, well, there's nothing really to humans. This is all just sentimentalism when it comes to, sitting across the table and talking to somebody. We can all have those sort of meta analyses of what it is to be human and the experience that we have until it comes time for us to experience real pain and conversely, real beauty. And in those moments, it's really hard to argue with it. You won't find someone in severe pain who will tell you it's all fake. It's all fake. That's very seldomly done. And the same is true when you have true beauty, such as holding your firstborn in your arms for the first time, or falling in love with someone, or sharing a meaningful conversation with another. Those are times when it's very difficult to be as cynical as some would have you be. And hopefully, as you say, Mr. R&B, AI is a way for us to break through that cynicism and reach back into being very kind to one another. And I suppose reiterating the value of each person we interact with. Put a bow on this for us, though, and as you do, let's ponder in your final remarks here. How big is the artificial intelligence revolution that's coming? Is it bigger or smaller, for example, than the internet?
Oh, I think it's bigger. I think it's bigger than the printing press that gave the world the Gutenberg Bible. I think what it's going to do is it is going to change. It's going to change the idea of what is possible in terms of once the human mind, once you can imagine at the speed of thought, and once that is given to everybody, anybody who has access to the internet or these tools, doesn't matter how rich or poor you are, it doesn't matter from where around the world you are, as long as you can get to a computer and you can start imagining whatever you can imagine. A lot of people have never had this power before. And once you can start imagining, I would choose to believe, and if you can, let's say you're somebody from an incredibly poor part of the world, and you're worrying about, because there are many places in the world where people just worry about where's their next meal coming from. But if you had access to an internet terminal and you were able to generate yourself into a story of, I don't know, fighting as one of the 300 Spartans or something, whatever it is you want to do, or what would it be like if you met your God, whether you wanted to meet Muhammad or Jesus or Shiva or whatever. I don't know if you'd want to meet Shiva, but if you did, and you could create an experience and see that you made, that kind of power, I think, is also going to unlock the creativity of people that never even thought of using their creativity. At least I'd like to think so. And imagine where that's going to lead. So many humans on this planet lead lives of quiet desperation, and they've never had the luxury of imagining or dreaming and then watching their dreams be made reality through the power of AI. I mean, I choose to be optimistic ultimately. I mean, it's too easy. How many dystopian science fiction movies have I watched since I was a little kid? I've always been like, well, it's all going to end in a nuclear fireball. But, maybe it isn't. Maybe this revolution is what human beings have needed to realize we're going to level the playing field. Your totalitarian regimes like, say, China. How is China going to contain the dreams of their own population when they have access to AI? When they can put themselves. How are you going to prevent somebody from using AI technology to put themselves in their own romance novel?
I'm
Or to
reminded that the
dream of.
fax machine may have destroyed the USSR. Imagine what AI can do.
Yeah. And if nothing else, when people start self-inserting themselves into their favorite movies or creating their own films, what do you think they're going to do with it? They're going to show it to other people. There's going to be, you think Star Wars, people bitching about Star Wars on the internet. What happens when people take all the EU novels that have been decanonized and turn those into AI movies? And they will. Every single Dark Empire that you've already got the comic art, just scan each of the pages, tell AI to turn this into a movie. Give me a John Williams score. Give me an original John Williams score. Here's all the Star Wars scores he's already written. Here's all the scores John Williams has written in his entire career. Give me a new original Star Wars score. You'll be able to get it. And each time you ask AI to do it, it'll be different.
Oh, the copyright and trademark fights we're about to witness.
Oh, and can you imagine? There's going to be whole forums. Like, people are going to write, if people are going to give you, take your favorite Star Wars, like the Dark Empire or the Thrawn trilogy. If people are going to take those Thrawn books are going to be, they're already in text form, get them on Kindle, upload them to AI, ask AI to give you a version of it. You can tell it, give it to me in the style of Kurosawa, or give it to me in the style of Francois Truffaut, or give me the Tarkovsky version of Star Wars. I mean, you're going to be able to get all that, and people are going to share. I mean, they already do that. You think memes are going to go live? Someone's going to make the best version of their fan film from whatever, and everyone's going to have fan film forums and download things, and people are going to be like, what if Humphrey Bogart ran Mos Eisley? So you'll get Casablanca, but with Filgrin Dan and the modal nodes playing, or Sam's gonna be Dexter Jetster, whatever. Before he opened a diner, he was the piano player at Rick's. I mean, it's gonna be all of that. We're gonna see all of it.
Well, it has never been more important, I would say, for us to choose good people to be at the top of companies and governments and all of that. And it's never been more important for us to live very full lives and to live well in front of others, because as we develop artificial intelligence into whatever it's going to be, it is going to be mimicking us. So
Yes.
God help us if we're not the best of us, because whatever we are, that's what we're going to get, amplified to orders of magnitude we can't conceptualize.
But
I want to thank you, Mr. Burnett, for stopping by. Final thought?
I just want to say one thing. You cover Disney as a company. And I would say that one of the things that Disney, its core business, one of its core businesses, was when Walt in the late 50s created Disneyland. That's a place where you as a human being go. The happiest place on earth. You have experiences, you see other people. Nothing is going to replace the experience of going somewhere and being around other people. And I think anybody that can continue to do, I mean, Walt died in 1966. He left us before his dream of Epcot was realized. He might have revolutionized what the cities are if he was allowed to continue on with his original conception of Epcot. People that are going to ensure that the quality of life for human beings around the planet is made better. I think that's a growing business. And I think that's a business that people might be neglecting in favor of AI. But 20, 30 years from now, quality of life, real life, is going to be at a premium.
Let's get to it, folks. The age of abundance may already be here. The age of purpose is up to you. Folks, if you like content like this, click the like button, share, subscribe, click it, stick it to the algorithms, hit the notification bell, drop a comment down below. Join in. Do not let your mind be wasted on this one, but rather join in a dialogue with a community all sharing ideas. Folks, make sure to go subscribe to Robert Meyer Burnett over on the Burnett Work, a place of pure excellence and analysis. And ladies and gentlemen, wherever you are and whatever you're doing, keep learning, keep growing, and keep having fun.
No, hey Flo, what you doing? Thinking about Rome?
No, I wasn't. But thanks. Now I lost the game.
Dang it. Now I lost the game. Oh, no. Well, now you're a double loser.
Hey guys, you know what would help you in your grief? Forgetting those things and filling your mind with articles from thatparkplace.com and using that website as a launching pad to get you lost in thought with all of the team from there.
Yeah, that's actually a good idea.
Yeah. Oh, well, Flora, would you look down here?
I hate you.